into the affections not only of his own family, but of the British people. So I think we're seeing them effectively crawl on bended knees back to Britain, and they are, to some extent, going to be pathetically grateful if the King's
The fact that courtiers within the palace are saying, well, there might be a meeting, but we're going to ask, or we're at least going to consider asking Harry and Meghan to hand in their devices on the way. And and by the way, even if there's a photograph, it's going to be with the children, not Meghan.
I do not believe the king is a stupid man.
Meghan Markle thinks she's being so clever. However, royal sources now revealing that they are so terrified about a potential stunt involving her meeting with King Charles that there are suggestions they may even ask her to hand over her devices before any such face-to-face. And we see what you're doing, Meghan, with this new promotional stunt at this very moment. However, this video hasn't impressed us much. As the Royal Grift put it, anyone else getting this vibe? And Long Sally, aka Sue Smith, said, can someone please explain to this woman she is not a supermodel, and we've seen the same basket of vegetables 50 times. This was obviously taped months ago, and she's drip feeding it out as ever is dead. Now, we're going to get to all of the behind-the-scenes drama in terms of this meeting with, according to Taz, royal YouTube sensation imminently. But first, I want to take you through the latest reporting, because the Daily Express and the Daily Mirror now confirming that Meghan Markle has agreed to stay at a royal residence. Isn't it great that they're lowering themselves to Buckingham Palace? With Russell Myers, the royal editor of The Mirror, reporting that Prince Harry and his family are set to stay at a royal residence during their visit to the UK next month amid ongoing concerns about their personal safety. A source close to the Duke said he has grown increasingly frustrated with the whole process and has had to alter his standpoint. I'm going to translate that for you. Things are so desperate that they need to re-enter the royal world at any cost. From initially being told a decision would be made within a matter of weeks, it is now more than 6 months on. Harry, you got your decision. This is an appeal. Nothing is going to change. He was determined to travel back to the UK with his family around the Invictus event, so he has finally made the decision to accept the offer of staying at a royal residence, which he believes will be sufficient. Oh, it's sufficient now, is it, Harry? So we couldn't trust a word you said before. The Mirror's report went on. Harry, who will be accompanied by his wife Meghan and their children Archie and Lilibet, has previously stated that the country of his birth is not safe. Sources close to the Sussexes have also disclosed that the Duchess has taken a considerable interest in the Invictus Games and was determined to make the visit to Birmingham too. So we know what this is about. Things are now so desperate in terms of the finances that everything these two chances, that these two grifters have said before, have been chucked out the window. But what's interesting is the Express is also reporting that Harry and Meghan have had to take on a new crisis management team, given they know how Brits really feel about this visit. With the headline here, Meghan Markle's bombshell make-or-break plan to win the UK back over, Markle hiring a team of PRs in order to do so. Let me just tell you right now, it doesn't matter what you're paid, these PRs should turn down the job because some missions are just impossible. Here's the Express reporting. Meghan Markle hiring a team of crisis PRs in a bid to win over the British public. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex set to return to the UK for the one-year countdown to the Invictus Games and will be accompanied by Archie and Lily. An insider close to the couple revealed that they see the visit as a make-or-break chance for Harry to try and reconcile with Charles and Prince William. Good luck. And they've brought in a team made up of celebrity and crisis PRs who have worked with infamous names in a bid to rebuild Meghan's image with the British public. The source said Meghan knows that she in particular will have to eat humble pie if she wants any chance of winning Harry's family and the public over, and she is ready to admit she needs the help. Good. She does. She's been instructed that she is back in the UK as Prince Harry's wife and should only have a background role. Let's see if she's able to manage that. Chance would be a fine thing. This is her time to show people she is capable of not playing up to the cameras. Really? Have you seen the ad she's just released? Meghan has taken it all on board and is very keen to show the British public she is not the enemy. Sorry, she is. This also went on. She and Harry deeply regret speaking about the royals on TV and would love a second chance. Okay, well, you can start with an apology. And that apology, by the way, has to go to the British public because you're accused of us being racist, but it also has to go directly to Prince William, directly to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, directly to King Charles, and directly to Camilla, and we all need to be told about it. The insider added, Meghan realised she's been given bad advice from her PRs for a while and it has hurt her reputation. Again. Seriously, she's not getting this, is she? It's nothing to do with the PRs. She's ignored multiple PRs time and again. This is about her behaviour over many years. But interestingly, the source claims that they were trying to make her the next Diana and to give her sickly sweet image, which came across as insincere. Meghan had realised this was a mistake and wants to make sure this visit goes right for Harry's sake. So is the strategy now to just admit that she's a mega bitch? I mean, at least that would be interesting and a little bit more honest. The team is on the case and working hard to develop an action plan to win her back the public's favour. A lot is resting on this. But according to Taz, is not convinced on watching this new shoot from Meghan. She responded, never before have I seen a celebrity that loves themselves so much. It's like a love affair. And Tash, that is why I do not believe that this crisis management team are going to be able to make a blind bit of difference to the situation. She's had 11 crisis management teams. They've all offered her advice, and sure, some of it's to be sweet and some of it's to be Princess Diana, but fundamentally, the British public, I believe, knows who Meghan Markle is, and a new crisis management team and the fact that they're staying at a palace isn't going to change how we feel about her. The stories about Harry and Meghan, the establishment and the media are working overtime to suppress. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken. Subscribe right now for free if you want the truth straight.
Meghan was signed many, many moons ago to Sunshine Sachs. I mean, they do the most brutal damage repair control to try and save people. They had people like Michael Jackson, Harvey Weinstein on the list, and even they couldn't get through to Meghan Markle and to stop her continuous self-destruction. Meghan can sign up to as many PR experts in the world. She can keep employing the top executives that can, make a pig's out of a sow's ear. Was it a purse out of a sow's ear? But it's never going to work with Meghan. She never listens to anybody. She didn't want to listen to people when she was behind the palace walls. She just careers on ahead and she chooses the path that she wants to take and then blames everybody when it doesn't go the way that she wants it. I mean, we heard when she was going to Australia, she was going to, I don't know if this was actually truthful or whether this was made up, but she apparently had humility training to help her come across as more compassionate to people and meeting children with cancer and Bondi Beach victims. I mean, it's plausible. She was terrible. She was absolutely terrible. Meghan was very much me, look at me. It was all her. She cannot help herself. So I do not think that she is suddenly going to take the role of the supportive wife. She doesn't need to take a back seat. It's not trying to be archaic here. It's not she has to walk 10 steps behind her husband the way that they imply Catherine does. It's about supporting your partner and the causes. You're just there in the background. Meghan's probably already picked out her wardrobe choices. She's probably got the press releases ready to go so everybody knows what she's wearing. She's got that one off. But yeah, I mean, does this look like a woman? Seriously, perfect timing. Does this look like a woman that's listened to anybody with regards to maybe you should come across a bit more humble? Maybe you should tone it down a bit? If she was chocolate, she'd eat herself.
Oh, she would. Now, Tash, we are learning more about exactly how the choreography in terms of this visit and the king is going to work. So this from the Establishment Times newspaper today, written by Kate Mancy, a member of the Royal Rota, which is why it's significant. Will the king finally be photographed with Harry's children? Now, she acknowledges that for the Sussexes, this picture would be the money shot. And she paints quite a picture, writing, picture the scene. The king smiles for the camera as he sits on a sofa by two beautiful children. At first glance, the little ones are not immediately recognisable. Then on closer inspection, the family resemblance becomes apparent. The red hair from their father, the Duke of Sussex, revealing that they are Charles's grandchildren, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. It's an image that would surely go viral, pinging on smartphones around the world. Not only would it be King Charles's first meeting with his grandchildren in 4 years, it would most likely be the first time the children's faces have been revealed since they were babies. For the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, it would be the ultimate money shot, the next twist in the saga that has launched them onto streaming platforms in the US, where their currency remains forever linked to their royal titles. Even in a world of royal what-ifs, there are those familiar with both camps who fear no such picture could ever be taken for several reasons. Harry has let it be known that he wishes to bring his 2 children back to his homeland in the UK when he returns with his wife. With this in mind, the King has offered them accommodation in a royal residence, although they have yet to accept his offer. That said, the reporting to Russell Myers makes it clear that they are accepting the offer. As ever, to borrow a phrase from Meghan's company, the state of Harry and Meghan's relationship with the royal family means that the story is never straightforward. In short, it's complicated. So what is stopping our hypothetical family photograph from taking place? Well, even if Harry did bring his children, it is possible that courtiers would leave Charles exposed to a photo opportunity with them? Or, and this is the critical line here because this has become brief directly from palace courtiers, mark my words, will Meghan and Harry be asked to hand over any devices on the way in? It is most likely that Harry will come before the big royal getaway to Balmoral later in the summer, which rules out any awkward suggestion that he could be invited to Balmoral with the wider family. The Duke appears to have suggested Sandringham, letting it be known that he and his family would welcome an offer to stay there. Given that Charles has managed to find a new home on the Norfolk estate for his disgraced brother Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor, Sandringham could also surely accommodate Harry for a few nights too. Whether in London, Windsor or Sandringham, William is likely to make himself scarce. Surely he'll be hoping that England will call for an extra cheerleader in the Football World Cup in the US, requiring him to put the Atlantic safely back in the middle between the warring brothers. As for Camilla, Queen Camilla, this is interesting too. She is staying well clear. She is unlikely to get involved in a discussion with Harry and Meghan, who can blame her. In the promotion for his autobiography, Harry said that she was dangerous and described her as a villain. She's most likely to want to protect the king from any inopportune meetings while staying out of the way as much as possible at Rainmill House, her home in Gloucestershire. Would Meghan even want to come and meet the king with Harry and the children? Would she allow Harry to bring them alone? Even if she pulled off the PR coup of the decade and managed to get her children a photo op with the king, she is surely unlikely to be in the picture herself. Now, Tash, this is fascinating because, of course, the briefing to Kate Mansi, this member of the Royal Rota who writes for the Times newspaper, which is considered the newspaper of record here in the United Kingdom, comes directly from courtiers within the palace. And the fact that courtiers within the palace are saying, well, you know, there might be a meeting, but we're going to ask, or we're at least going to consider asking Harry and Meghan to hand in their devices on the way in. Oh, and by the way, even if there's a photograph, it's going to be with the children, not Meghan. She is not going to be happy about this. And I think they're almost trying to make Meghan stay away. It's almost like the palace is signalling they're happy and comfortable for Harry and the children to meet with the king, but not Meghan herself. Now, I don't think she will allow that to happen. I really don't. I think she's making it clear to Harry, it's me and the kids, or it's you on your own.
I think with Harry, the way he threw a tantrum over when Queen Elizabeth, you know, they got the news that she was dying, and his first thought wasn't to actually just get up to Balmoral, get on the nearest plane, get on the plane with my family. It was to argue with his father that he was making demands that Meghan could go at that time of what should be for most people, and I'm sure for the rest of the family, was, you know, despair. It was an awful moment in time. So I don't think Harry has suddenly changed and turned over a new leaf if he could do that when his grandmother was in, you know, her final moments on this earth. So I think that if there is going to be any to and fro like that, Harry will definitely be spearheading it. Will Meghan be the one whispering in his ear? Well, yes, probably. But I do not think that if any problems come from this, it's Meghan alone. Harry is very, very entitled when it comes to Meghan. And I will give credit to the king here. I know not everybody agrees with me, but I do not believe the king is a stupid man. I believe that he knows exactly why they are coming over, why they want the children to meet him. And I think he's got to look at it from a grandfather's perspective as well as the king. It's a marketing ploy because it will increase the children's relevancy if they do see him. There's an awful lot of could, may, might potentials floating around. And there are different royal reporters giving different conflicting stories at the moment. And I think the king is very aware that by having a photograph with Archie and Lily, it will increase their royal relevancy, which means Meghan can financially benefit from the children. And this is where the king then needs to go into grandfather mode. If he does it, it's not just a negative backlash on the monarchy because he's allowed Harry and Meghan to do this after everything they've done, but it's then going to enable Meghan to use his grandchildren in such a way. Whereas if he does what Queen Elizabeth II did and refuses to have any photographs taken, I mean, that's not to say a staff member or someone that's very close to the king couldn't turn around and say, if you want a photograph, you know, for the family photo albums, but if it is leaked, you know, then, you know, it's who knows with them, really, to be fair. The king could take the picture and keep it for himself. If it is about them having a reconciliation with their grandfather, then that should be enough for Harry and Meghan to turn around and say, yes, okay, you can have a picture taken by your photographer. We won't take any pictures. But we all know it's not about a reconciliation with the grandfather. It's not about improving the children's relationships with their relatives. This has all got a financial gain element to it. And this is why Harry and Meghan, which again, I'm still not 100% that the kids will actually get to see the king, but I do believe that they've suddenly had a turnaround very, very quick, when everything is basically crumbling around them. They've sprung it last minute. Now, everybody knows the king's diary is chock-a-block. He's the king. He can't just suddenly go, I've been given 2 weeks notice to potentially meet my grandchildren. It doesn't work that way. And they know it. And I can't help but feel that perhaps for financial motivation, they're hoping that the king is in fact too busy to see them, because then, of course, Dan, they've got the perfect victim narrative to spin again with the added extra emotional manipulation to turn the public against the king further, because they're using the children. So I'm very skeptical about all of this at the moment, and I won't believe any of it until I see it for myself.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at is I believe that they have decided to stay in a royal palace, and that, I think, does suggest that there will be a meeting. But of course, the choreography of that meeting is what's going to be very interesting, because Tom Bower, the author of Betrayal, has appeared overnight on Tom Sykes' Royalist podcast and actually said that even though Harry and Meghan are returning, they are actually really crawling on bended knee, sort of back to beg, to beg for money, to beg for credibility. And I think actually the way that he paints this picture is very interesting. This is not a win for Harry and Meghan. Watch this. But first, do you remember when energy used to feel effortless? You'd get through a workout, a long day, a bad night's sleep, and still feel sharp. But as you get older, trust me, it can start to feel like your body and brain don't have the same spark they used to. Here's the interesting part. That's not in your head. It's biology. When we're younger, our bodies naturally produce and regenerate high levels of creatine. But as we move into our 40s and beyond, that production steadily declines. And that means less readily available energy for both our muscles and our brains. That's exactly why Qualia Creatine Plus was created. Here's the key thing, though. You can't just take any old creatine and assume it's doing the job. It has to actually get into your cells and then be activated so your body can use it properly. That's why Qualia Creatine Plus is different. It combines 2 clinically studied forms of creatine with electrolytes, all chosen to support absorption and activation. It includes easy-to-mix micronized creatine monohydrate in a new form called OptiCreatine, plus Creatine Magna Power, along with a precise amount of sea salt to help support uptake where it matters most. What makes this stand out is that it's not just creatine, it's the delivery system your body needs to make it work for you. We're way past the dark ages of creatine being just for gym bros. Creatine is critical for energy, metabolism, cognition, and healthy aging, not just lifting like a bodybuilder. So go to qualialife.com/Dan for 50% off. And here's a bonus. Use the code Dan for an additional 15% off your order. That's QUALIA life.com/Dan and use the code Dan. And thank you so much to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Now, back to the show.
Why do you think they want to come back to this awful, racist, snobbish, cruel society and institution?
Well, I think you can summarize it in 2 words: desperation and failure. They have reached a sort of a headwind. They run out of ideas. They can't do any more work for Netflix or Spotify or any of the main streamers. And their finances are basically in jeopardy over the long term. And Meghan is someone who is desperate for fame. She's desperate for recognition. She's desperate for money, of course, and status. And it just seems to her that a visit to the royal family in Britain would give her or restore to her the credibility she once had. I think for Harry it's worse, because Harry is isolated in California. He has actually now got no role at all. And I'm sure he now misses his family, he misses his roots, he misses England, and somehow wants to worm his way back into the affections not only of his own family, but of the British people. So I think we're seeing them effectively crawl on bended knees back to Britain, and they are to some extent going to be pathetically grateful if the king agrees to let them in on any of their terms.
But Tom Bower does raise a significant issue that he thinks could complicate matters in terms of the visit. And it is the fact that we are still awaiting the verdict in Harry's trial versus the Daily Mail. Now, you know I covered this trial independently day after day. I still believe it's possible there'll be a win for Harry. But Tom Bower points to the fact that if Harry is humiliated or called out by the judge for his absolutely provable lies about his relationship with the Mail on Sunday's editor-at-large, Charlotte G. String-Griffiths, then could Charles really go ahead with a meeting in that moment? Listen.
But I'm not sure if the terms have yet been agreed. I think we are seeing at the moment the Sussex's rather paltry, low-level press machine churning out stories about their return without anything coming, as you rightly say, from Buckingham Palace confirming their view and their opinion of what they think is going to happen. I think it's all still very much in the air, and I think that that's for two reasons. On the one hand, I don't think Harry is going to get the Rabeck agreement for protection he wants from. This is the committee that decides whether his life is at risk, and therefore he and Meghan, as he demanded, should have armed protection throughout. But also, I think people are forgetting that we are awaiting the judgment in his case against the Daily Mail Associated Newspapers. Now, Harry's reputation, in my view, is going to take a very heavy battery in that judgment, because during his testimony, he said something which at the end of the case was shown to be untrue about his relationship with a famous journalist. He denied it. The evidence showed he was wrong and that he hadn't told the truth. And therefore, I think the royal family is waiting to see whether the judge condemns Harry in terms which would embarrass the royal family in any event, having the Sussexes in Britain at that time. And the judgment is likely to be published before Harry arrives in Britain in mid-July. So I think that and a lot more means that we don't know on what terms they come. But I'm pretty sure that whatever terms they come on will be dictated by the palace and not by them.
Tom Bower then revealed that Prince Harry does want a public appearance, actually, from the King at the Invictus Games 1 year countdown. That's not going to happen. He also wants photos. He does want photos. That's according to Bower. He says that is unlikely to happen, but he does believe that Harry will receive a private meeting. Okay, half of you watching this are not subscribed to Dan Wootton Outspoken, and the best way you can support what we do is by hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted to our new episodes.
Contrary to what Harry wants, which is, of course, a public display of reunification, and a public display of Charles supporting the Invictus Games, he isn't going to get that. But I can imagine a private meeting, no photographers allowed. And as for the accommodation in a royal palace, well, we've got so many empty royal palaces at the moment. I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. The issue will only be if they allow themselves to be filmed and photographed as if they were members of the royal family. I think that is where the line's going to have to be drawn. Will the king and his officials allow the Sussexes to pose as members of the royal family, somehow coming back into the fold, without apologizing for their appalling behavior, appalling betrayal of Britain and the royal family? And that is something which I imagine is now being negotiated.
And Tash, that is the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I still can't help but feel this whole thing, it hasn't been thought out. It hasn't been planned. We're seeing a complete breakdown of misinformation. As I said, different royal reporters and royal commentators giving different ideas and theories. And I just think that Harry and Meghan have sprung this last minute to create this sort of drama and chaos, which is pretty standard for those two. And I feel like that they've railroaded the king, whereby if he can't see them, like I said, he's going to suffer negative consequences, because the media, certain media outlets, I think you know which one, are going to have a field day about how cruel he is that he's not made the effort to see his grandchildren despite them staying in a palace, not taking into account that the king is the king and he has a ridiculously chock-a-block and tight diary. And I think this whole thing has just been a last minute desperate attempt, like throw everything that they've got. They know they're pretty much doing their swan song. In my opinion, everything has just turned to absolute ash, and this is the last thing they've got, and they've just thrown it all in a big ball. They've given pretty much 3 weeks notice, and the kids, I do think, was a last minute addition. And for Harry to have done that when he hasn't had the Ravek ruling, when he hasn't got his way, makes me think that he knows it's not going to go his way. So now he doesn't have a choice. The palace have turned around and called his bluff, saying, well, you can stay here if you want. And now if he turns around and says, no, actually, I'm not going to, I just think there seems to be, everyone seems to, at the palace, the king, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. If he sees them, he's going to get negative backlash. If he sees them privately, there's still going to be negative backlash. But Harry and Meghan, I don't think, are going to accept that. They need this trip to be a success. They need the king to be seen with them. They need the king to be seen with the grandchildren. So I'm honestly, my head's been in a bit of a spin, especially with this heat wave, Dan. As I said, I mean, it's hourly, the articles are changing. It's so hard to keep up with it all at the minute. It really
You're
is.
looking great, Tash. For people who don't realise, in the United Kingdom at the moment, and we don't get temperatures like this that often, do we, Tash? What is it where you are?
I am currently, I've just come back and my car said 38.5.
That's Celsius. Oh, what's that in Fahrenheit? What's that in Fahrenheit? We need to check, because
I don't know, but I know the tarmac is melting on the road outside. So
that's 100 Fahrenheit. And I know Americans are going to be laughing at us. I mean, indeed, the mainstream media here have gone.
They have aircon.
That's true. That's true. We don't really have air conditioning in the UK, which is nuts, which is totally nuts. But I'm in
only rich people do.
my little summery jacket.
You look fabulous, Dan. Not a bead of sweat on you. I'm sitting here perspiring.
It's a lot hotter than usual in here. Trust me. It is a lot hotter than usual. Tash, look, we do have to talk about this new theory you have over Harry and Meghan using this trip in order to film footage for their new Princess Diana stunt. And this is actually going to involve Althorpe as well, which makes it particularly twisted. So we got to get into that as the hot and steaming Royal Uncancelled After Show continues. You can come and join us at www.outspoken.live. That's the Substack where you can watch the full Royal Uncancelled After Show with no advertising whatsoever. I would love you to join us there. Paid monthly and annual subscribers get first access to that show live or on demand, and drive everything that we do here at Outspoken outside of the mainstream media and the Royal Rota. So that address again, www.outspoken.live. Dan Wilson Outspoken is your no-spin, no-bias, no-censorship outlet for independent news. We have no big tech backing or billionaires pulling my strings, but that does mean I need your support. So please hit subscribe on YouTube, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to Dan Wilson Outspoken on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It's totally free, but allows me to continue my promise to always keep fighting for you. Is Prince Harry really blackmailing emotionally his father, King Charles? We're going to have that debate today in some depth, because that is the claim coming from certain courtiers within Buckingham Palace. Personally, I believe the situation is nuanced. I know there's some of you who say there's no feud whatsoever between the King and William over whether Harry and Meghan should be welcomed back to the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, I just report truths. Sometimes they are cold, hard truths, and it doesn't mean, and I want to stress this, that William doesn't have great love and admiration for his father in many ways. But to suggest that there is no feud over the fact that his dad is welcoming these two cretins back to the kingdom, when they are trying still to this day to destroy the kingdom, to bring down the kingdom, to accuse the kingdom of racism, is unfortunately ludicrous. That is a ludicrous proposition. So I am just, as I always am, trying to be as fair and honest in my reporting as I can be. And that reporting remains that Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, believe that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle should remain in exile outside of the United Kingdom for the rest of their days, earning money commercially, having no connection to the royal family or the palace, and no ability to use their proximity to royalty either in the past, in the present, or in the future to be able to make money or sell stories. So that is the overall position. The problem is that the King's Court is totally divided in terms of how it deals with the fact that the King, and again, this is where there is nuance in this conversation. I hope you understand that I will have that nuanced conversation with you, that the King quite naturally wants to meet two of his grandchildren and have a relationship with two of his grandchildren that we have to remember, even though we're not confident, and I'm certainly not confident of their provenance, that they do remain in the British line of succession, and they are to an extent his blood. So that's another factor, and that's why you do have certain people close to the King trying to make this emotional blackmail argument. So what we're going to do is look through what is being reported in the mainstream media. Then I'm going to give you the truth behind that. Then we'll bring in Angela Levin, our royal mastermind and the biographer of Prince Harry and Queen Camilla. So the Times newspaper, via its assistant editor, Kate Mancy, is trying to suggest that the King is not going to be drawn into an emotional blackmail security row, despite offering accommodation to his son after reports Harry wants to bring his young children back to Britain. That is just an unrealistic position. What that is Kate Mancy, as a prominent member of the Royal Rota, simply reporting what she is being told by Tobin Andre, who is one of the most senior communication executives for the King. The number one, actually. But it doesn't make it true. And it certainly doesn't take away from front pages like The Sun, which is now even suggesting that the King's weakness on this issue means that Megxit could be reversed in some way and become Meg's in. Now, the most interesting MSM object for discussion in this emotional blackmail row is a fascinating double bylined piece in the Daily Mail. Now, remember, that is the establishment newspaper that Tobin Andre tends to use to leak what he feels is a pro-palace position on usual days. But this double byline piece is from both Rebecca English and Alison Boshoff. Now, I want to explain the significance of that. Rebecca English is Tobin Andre's woman in the United Kingdom. She is the head of the Royal Rota. She's one of the go-to gals when you want to get the palace message out. Very often, as a result, what she writes can feel like propaganda, but she has a job to do. I'm not being critical of her. I'm just trying to outline why she gets a particular type of narrative directly from the palace. But Alison Boshoff is, of course, the woman who the Daily Mail have charged with writing the insight into what is going on in America with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And so the fact that they are coming together on this piece means that what you're getting is not only the official palace line, but also the official line out of Montecito. Or should we say, the unofficial line out of Montecito. So this is where the emotional blackmail line has come from. And it is slightly caveated. It feels like emotional blackmail. That's in the headline. As Harry and Meghan announce return to Britain with Archie and Lilibet, insiders reveal fears about decisions to bring children and manipulation of royals. Now, I do stress here that the King is the King. He does have an ability to put a stop to this. He has an ability not to be manipulated. So I'll say that from the outset. But let me get into the actual sourcing within this fascinating feature, where they report, this is Rebecca English and Alison Boshoff, that two sources close to the Sussexes were stunned by the week's announcement, calling it a new low. So with friends like these, you don't need enemies, even though I totally agree with that conjecture. This, they say, is nothing short of a gauntlet thrown down by Harry and Meghan. A source said, I don't think this will be a reunion. It's more of a trap. It's a challenge. They are saying, try and ignore us when we are here with the kids. If they don't meet up with Harry and Meghan, then they can say, we came to you and we were ignored. Now, that is without doubt true. But my argument and my suggestion to the king and his courtiers is that is absolutely what you have to do. If Harry and Meghan will not follow the path in order for the king to see Archie and Lily without any publicity or without any security needs whatsoever, I've outlined in previous shows how that could be done, then damn right you ignore them. And by the way, this is not some minority fringe view. That is the view shared by Prince William, by Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and significantly by Queen Camilla herself. But the source went on, reflecting on this, saying, it's clear to me that Harry and Meghan are doing this to force their hand. So they have to give him security, or else they are endangering the children. This is a huge new low as a tactic, and it is going to backfire. English and Boshoff go on to write, there's one gaping hole in the reconciliation narrative as billed by the prince's side. Nobody is aware of a meeting with the king in the diary, not for Harry, nor his wife or children. The king does not, despite reports to the contrary, share details of his diary with the Sussexes, so they have no idea of his commitments in July. They simply don't know how busy he is or where he will be. He might suddenly find he's very busy then, said a source. It also remains to be seen whether other members of the family will meet Harry and his clan. Will Princess Eugenie, to whom Harry is close, reach out so they can share their travails? A source in royal circles said the palace reaction to news of the visit was a wary one. Will they ever learn? Okay, but I've got to step in here. The question for me is, will the palace ever learn? And that is not being critical, it is stating a fact. And I'm talking about Buckingham Palace here, not Kensington Palace. William has remained intransigent in his position. There will be no meeting. There will be no reconciliation. And it was Charles who changed that with that meeting at Clarence House late last year, which I reported at the time, Harry immediately used in order to secure a whole load of headlines from favoured publications in the US about this emotional meeting and it being like a movie scene. That was a warning to the king, never again. Now, do I believe that there are people within the king's circle who hope that the king is going to say, no, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I mean, he has done that in the past. Of course, I believe there are people within the king's circle who hope he's going to do that. Is my understanding that that is what the king will do? No. Because I do believe that Harry would not be bringing the children and Meghan unless he had had a personal and direct sign from the king, who his side insist Harry is in communication with, to say that there will be some type of meeting. The source added, they do not want to get involved with saying anything when it comes to the couple, as they have a red line. If they start briefing, it goes in a bad direction. They won't do it, and they won't be seen to do it because they don't want a war of words. But the feeling in royal circles is that this is manipulative. It seems like no coincidence this comes when they are expecting a decision from the Home Office on security. They are genuinely bewildered that anyone would think this is the way to proceed if you want to repair relations. This feels like emotional blackmail. Indeed, a source said that the king, who last saw his son for just under an hour in September 2025, is a Christian man who will always choose forgiveness and reconciliation. Yet he remains wary, as he feels he cannot be seen to preempt or countermand a Home Office decision. They said the king is not an uncaring man. It's not that he doesn't want to see his grandchildren, but he doesn't want to do anything which can be weaponized against him in the security row. Everyone is very wary. However, those fears of weaponization are surely all the stronger because of the many barbs aimed at the Windsors from Montecito. Put simply, forget security. Surely Harry has stayed away from his family because he's not been welcome. A source said, the feeling is that the question of Harry and a meeting overshadows all of the king's works. in terms of the meeting. You are damned if you do and damned if you don't. The narrative becomes about the personal family dynamics, and that is what they don't want. He's made a rod for his own back meeting him the last time. The king felt bounced into it. So that is more honest briefing from the palace there. And I respect the honesty, because at least that is courteous, acknowledging that the king was wrong to meet with Harry, but with the important realization that the king did it not because he particularly wanted to, not because he particularly wanted some type of moan fest with Harry where Harry was going to have a go at him about a whole load of stuff, but because he felt bounced into it. Good. There's honesty there. But the problem is, when you open that door, it is very hard to close it. Little wonder, perhaps, back to this Daily Mail reporting, that some are viewing the addition of Archie and Lily to the travelling party as the ultimate bounce. The source close to the Sussexes was particularly scathing about their intentions in this domain. Recently, we are seeing more and more content of the kids as Harry and Meghan become less and less relevant. So again, what this shows you is that all of my reporting over many months about the fact that Harry and Meghan are in deep financial and career turmoil is being noticed at the palace. They are aware, the palace is aware, that Harry and Meghan are in part only doing this because they do have such PR and financial desperation. But that should make them even more wary. And maybe it is, but unfortunately they can't get that through to the king. See, I think, and I'll stress this again, there's still a way where the king could open up a path to see Archie and Lily, but it would mean flying in to Scotland, a private meeting in Balmoral where all transport would be sorted by the king, absolutely no time outside Balmoral, and no photographs and no filming whatsoever. That could be a way to do this. If you value the whole truth and nothing but the truth on these royal stories, make sure you subscribe to Outspoken right now. It allows me to work outside of the MSM and the royal rota. The article goes on. Having fiercely protected their identity from birth, it's claimed by some in the Sussex camp that Harry is planning to launch Archie and Lily into his world of service when they're here. Oh, that's what it's about, is it? Okay, so we're going to put all of our morals to one side because they want a world of service, these young children. Rather like William's 3 were seen at Trooping the Colour last week. Now, again, that's ludicrous, a comparison, because it's not us who have been saying for months and years that parents are irresponsible if they allow their children to be pictured publicly. And of course, William's children are seen. They have an official royal job. That's a prospect which makes his enemies shudder. Such a move would surely provoke global attention and possibly mark a high watermark of influence. One source says nobody understands how this can happen given Harry's feelings about having been used as a child in the service of monarchy. But it looks like July could be the big reveal of Archie and Lily's faces. Oh, that is so funny, isn't it? So Harry was used in the service of monarchy. Archie and Lily are going to be used in the service of renovating Meghan's kitchen, of bringing in the money in order to stay in a mansion in Montecito. All of these false equivalences are just that. Totally phony. We see through it. William sees through it. Catherine sees through it. Camilla sees through it. Now that's where there's the divide in the king's camp, where some people say he does understand what's going on. He does see through it. He feels bounced into this. He feels like there's emotional blackmail at play. And at the same time, there's others who